This, technically speaking, 9th installment video that can be mistaken as a 10th, but it's more directly intended as a 9th installment. This should be placed at the beginning as a review, or otherwise the thesis. How some prefer to write essays and law papers, the general overview, otherwise summary of the whole entire quote-unquote affirmation presented. Now to begin here, plenty of people out here have been presented certain individuals who present themselves one way and even making themselves very charismatic to draw people in, especially using some portions of the truth, especially from the scriptures, while using plenty of portions of things that pertain to the world and that of the faith. As a result, because of their high levels of deceptive behavior, they have spent years working out criminal activity so that on the surface level, it seems as if they're so innocent, misunderstood, and people have it out for them, as if people have hatred, ill will, and just want to see them fall in all these claims and statements they make. Even taking what they are guilty of and accusing others of what they're guilty of. In other words, being hypocrites and trying to. So these criminals have been in disguise for years, and they have used many methods to disguise themselves out in the open and speak in code. That way, no one would discern nor detect what manner of character they are of, as well as their thoughts and their intents, and what they're really saying. Furthermore, when they were proved and tried and tested, the results came in that they were not going to be held accountable. There are certain type of people here that refuse accountability, and one of those types are those with a narcissistic personality disorder. In other words, they are actively narcissist and may be deep into that form of narcissism, to where they only see themselves as right and everyone else wrong, unless they can benefit themselves, or unless they can gain something off the suffering of others for their own extent. So as a result, because of this personality disorder, this personality type they have developed over these years and have hidden by pretending to be part of the faith, by pretending to be ministers, by hiding behind the book like other criminals and evil individuals that are not sincere. It has become more transparent. They are using the scriptures to make money, gain influence, and to control people. And in secret, when they are not in front of the camera, they are involved in some serious criminal activities. And because of the personality type that they have from narcissism, one thing to learn about a narcissist is that they have to talk about themselves. So when they talk about someone else and they're being blatant hypocrites, there's a good chance that they're talking about themselves. If they're, for example, Floridian Rollo here, for example, he talks about these so-called witches and warlocks, how they take their spouses and any children they would have, or any family members or whoever. They would end their lives, terminate them, and then break them up into pieces, put them in bags and drive them out to gathering sites where other occultists meet and sell them for a high value and to send themselves in their satanic orders. And apparently, even Brainwaves, who also goes by Desan, that's right, even Desan here, he also shows the same behavior of narcissism, so it becomes more transparent, more understandable how to figure out what he really does in real life, off that camera, as well as what he's trying to hide because of the nature of a narcissist. So he has to defend himself, his ego, and act like a cult leader, such as operating by the cult of personality, where the image of the individual must be preserved to reinforce the persona, the idolatry that is pressed forward onto the people, to make them think that they are some type of Jesus figure when they are clearly Antichrist. And why that legally matters is because when you read about the different translations in the scriptures about the lawless one, and if you take the laws that was given to the people from Moses towards Moses unto the people, where the people agreed, and Moses wrote down the law that was given to him on the mountain. So many laws in the world, especially the American laws on different levels, they either are inspired, motivated by, or they have to derive from the Torah, the law given to the children of Israel. So if someone can blatantly disobey the law, statutes, commandments on the highest level, how much more on the lower levels here, when you have everyday laws that regulate people's behavior, so that if someone wants to do such things, there will be judgments and consequences and so forth. So as a result, if these individuals are going to be lawless in the sight of the Father who's in heaven, and also be lawless in society, wherever they reside in, that means they cannot be trusted and they are criminals, especially when they are actively and trying to hide their criminal activity, their nature, their intents. And again, reinforcing the validity of the material facts here, John chapter 10, verse 10 makes it known clearly the nature of those who are lawless. They will go so far as to do some of the highest levels of criminal activity that is inspired. So for the context here, those who go out there, they steal, they kill, and they destroy in its many forms on higher and lower levels, and the diversity of it. There are multiple types of criminal charges related to each violation, misconduct, and so forth. So, in this regard, do not be surprised if some of these crafty, studied, and practiced criminals do some of the highest levels of criminal activity, especially on the level to where they have other people, or shall we say, other individuals helping them through various levels and areas so that they all together can do crimes against humanity. That is how serious the criminal activity is of not only the 5 individuals presented based on their faces, but also those who actively associate with them and pursue what they're doing as well. Those who are accomplices and are as well too, shall we say, aiding and abetting them. And at this point, because of the recent controversies that has unfolded in the year of 2025 here, these 5 individuals who have people still listening to them on the internet and dealing with them behind the scenes are losing every opportunity to have a excuse to no longer deal with them nor have any association and whatnot with them. They're running out of excuses to not separate themselves from them, and if needed, to expose what they're doing and escalate the situation further up so that more people can get free from the criminal danger that these 5 individuals and those who are going along with their criminal activities are doing. And to bring it to remembrance too, they have been very deceptive and lying in very grievous ways in the hopes that people would believe anything that they say on camera and present themselves as some type of teachers, as some kind of inspired individuals, when clearly, after giving it time and proving their words as well as their works, their deeds, it has become very transparent. They are contrary to what is established. So them being clearly distinguished by their decisions that they have been making of these recent months here, it has been, especially over the year, it has been made clearly understood with the bias taken away, the bias of respecting their persons, to see who they really are and what they really mean in intent, to the extent to where they can speak very smooth, speak as if they're very kind, flatter people, and give great swelling words, these boastful and seemingly great talks and claims that they speak of and even boast of. Yet, in practice or application, otherwise in the substance of the material of their speech, their communication holds little to no value nor use. And the only way they can make that stick is by looking for something that is truthful or even close enough to truth and slide it in there, as much of it possible too. That way people will look to them instead of hearing what they need to hear and apply their self-autonomy. And that is one major problem that is being violated by them here, as well as those who are working alongside with them, behind the scenes and so forth, even discreetly too, is that they're helping them violate people's free will and do criminal activities against them. So mark the messenger on the upper right there that has somewhat of a frog looking face. Then the guy who has the, well, appears to be black eyes, and those of you who know, you know what that means, and that's not a good thing at all. In fact, that means that individual's evil, or they have evil intent in them. So, Donald here has been very discreet about his nature of who he is, who goes by the YouTube or the internet alias on YouTube of Ringo. We have a so-called adult, so you have an adult male claiming with their many boasts and statements and smooth speech of all these many virtues and great things about themselves, and even claiming things that are reckless and desperate to draw attention and the approval of people. So in this year, even though it's very low quality, it's discreet. How they look there versus that. That's not how a normal person looks. You can clearly tell something is going on there, and it's something bad. The song here, as mentioned, he claims to be a law enforcement officer on the internet. Then he turns around and makes other boastful claims by saying things along the lines of being a minister of the scriptures for around the range of over 10 years or so, being some type of minister beforehand, as well as making claims to have connections and to experience the court system for himself. So he knows so-called lawyers and potential judges too. And because of his behavior on the internet, of how he treats women as well as harass them, like these other two in particular, as well as Lester here. Otherwise, on the YouTube, he has an internet alias by the name of Karatazar, of the YouTube channel Born Again Israelites, who's been also escalating these recent weeks and has been stifled by people addressing what he does and says. Then Floridian Rollo, he goes by an alias, and he sticks to that alias, even going so far as to use old pictures of himself for some of his videos with the intent to persuade people he was that so-called individual or so-called person he was X amount of years ago, when clearly on the way he speaks, behaves, and shares information or presents information, he has been deteriorating, and going from bad to worse. Because of the narcissism in these individuals, these five right here, and anyone who's all together with them willingly in the criminal activities, they are also going so far as to emulate others who are like them, cult leaders such as Charles Doe Jr. of Straightway Truth Ministry cult, Jim Jones to a degree, Eyal ben Ephraim ben Yezerela, who's over the co-leader over One Nation, One Power to a degree, and others out there where they have to express the narcissistic personality disorder in them the disorder in their personality by the narcissism that has been developed in them, that they have to do grievous and say some terrible and reckless things to satisfy the ego, the pride, the selfishness, the self-glorification, the self-gratification, that it's only temporary. It has no feeling nor sustaining substance, neither satisfaction to make someone content in what they have. So as a result, in a pursuit of this addiction, of the addiction that they have from narcissism, they have to escalate further into the condition of narcissism. So they will go so far as to say some of the most desperate things that ought not to be said and done, especially things behind the scenes, so that people can look to them instead of doing what they're supposed to be doing based on their own words. Because of their many type of lies, they have been committing fraud and swindling people for their money by making them think they're giving to a cause, making people think they're giving to or contributing to something that was presented one way, and then they find out it's been the other. And they still have yet to restore and return all the hundreds and even thousands of dollars they have gained from other people. Now, as mentioned a couple minutes earlier, because of the narcissistic behavior of the 5 individuals and others who are like them, other people have made the effort to hold them accountable, to address them, and present their evidence. The information that they have that's undeniable, tangible, concrete, as well as their experience of dealing with them. So as a result, the defendant, that's right, the defendant here, or shall we say, the person who's been targeted as a potential victim from these 3 here at first, and then others have joined along with them too, who have also made serious claims against the targeted person here, their potential victim. They have attempted to do some of the most heinous and severe criminal activities towards a woman. That includes harassment, defamation of character, as well as them directly, one of the 2 at least, and others who have supported them, have come forth with threats against their life, multiple threats against their life. And they, either themselves or others, have made additional YouTube accounts with the attempt to also dox, as well as to harass, insult, and especially, if possible, make more threats. So as a result, any evidence and any names that have been collected of such individuals, such as Martin, for example, have been weighed in, as well as a recent individual, based on one of these recent streams, that has also been in the comment section saying some reckless things, some things that you don't say in the, you simply do not say nor type on the internet. Threats of causing all sorts of things that was addressed and brought to their attention so that they can record that too, accordingly. Furthermore, these three in particular, the son, Donald, Floridian Rollo of Vasilius, have gone so far as to do other methods of harassing and targeting the person here. The person whom they sought to victimize and target and do such high levels of criminal activity towards. Such as, shall we say, in the form of internet stalking, where they intentionally, of online stalking, where they will go so far as to wait for them to live stream or put a video up so they can go watch and then turn around and intentionally copy as well as to mock the things that they say or do, to copy, in other words, to steal with the intent to steal, otherwise counterfeit intellectual property, to use it for monetary gain. That's right. These three individuals here that are criminals are doing what they can to be monetized on YouTube, to make money off of misinformation, misleading as many people possible, as well as directly and indirectly making insults, as well as allegations and such against the person here, all while making their money in the effort to use that as a means to misinform people, spread misinformation, disinformation, and leading people into a cult-like environment on the internet, as well as to recruit people into their cultish ways, to entice them to misbehave, to present one side of the story to the people who listen to them, to stir them up with, shall we say, fighting words, words to inflame, incite, and provoke people, to use them against anyone whom they seek to do crime against, such as this person here who's been targeted by those three, as well as others who have joined with them, such as Martin, some person who has, or some individual who has doxed them, trying to dox their business, and other individuals who have said some reckless things that are pertaining to violence and causing harm to others, as well as insults, harassing them, and so forth. So as a result, they have been very particular in needing help accordingly to not only watch and record any criminal activity that would come their way, but also seek anyone that would rise up to the occasion to assist them in their needs. And in needs in the basis of helping them with detecting, discovering, and also seeking to help them in their process of settling this matter, even the case that it may be fully satisfied to the maximum extent of holding accountable, affirming all charges, prosecuting, and incarcerating the criminals who have gotten so far as to make all sorts of threats and trouble anyone they can to target them and victimize them. And because of the multiple people they have targeted, based on the fear, trauma, and the influence that has been done into them, only so many have come out, such as Charity and so forth, to reveal the nature and who they really are in person off of the camera. And it's been very transparent, by charity, as well as this person here who's been targeted by those three, and a few others who have happened to come out here and there in the with videos to share their side of this situation, to make it known that those three are not going to change their ways, and they have not wanted to resolve nor make conflict resolution. The son, claiming to be a cop, has lied about that statement and has gone so far as to carry himself as one that would be as a corrupt cop. If he can get paid a lot of money by supporting, abating, helping, and doing everything he can to back up criminals, he would definitely do that to achieve multiple thousands of dollars to help Floridian Rollo, and then get Donald involved as well too, so they all can make a large amount of money from false information as well as criminal activity, especially criminal activity to the highest levels, such as kidnapping, human trafficking of the different sorts, as well as to go out there and victimize people, claiming to help them with the intent to do harm, to cause loss, and even harm if they can possible. If they themselves, being in different states, cannot directly do it themselves, they will influence people behind the scenes from the different communities they have influenced or been a part of, to get them to do things on their behalf, such as Floridian Rollo, claiming that this person here who was targeted in other words, Floridian Rollo was making threats against the life of this person here with the intent, that's right, Floridian Rollo was going to have someone do a criminal activity for himself, of having someone to go do a quote-unquote hit. So as a result, that there, as well as the son, Donald, and others coming to the support and helping them, even trying to mask and dress up their criminal activity, has gone in very deep in the, shall we say, the consequences of their bad decisions. It's gradually catching up to them, but the completion of their decisions has to be fulfilled with the proper actions taken to arrest, detain, prosecute, and laid to the maximum extent of the due penalties, the due judgments, the consequences of their actions. Not only to this person here who's been targeted, as well as charity, but also others out there who have been affected as well too. To give a brief review here, the son here, him, Donald, as well as Rollo, they intentionally target, again, people that they can victimize, especially women. For example here, Donald has been making multiple videos claiming that DoorDash does different type of things for the wrong reason, and she has had enough of their behavior and wanted to file harassment charges against them. As a result, them boasting about their criminal immunities that they claim to have and would have because of the multiple people that they are associated with, That includes different sorts of criminals that will do things on their behalf, and if needed, receive money on their behalf, and so forth. So those three are running criminal rings. Different groups, different pockets, and different people stopping by with the intent to check in to see if there's any orders that has to be given to them, any favors they have to do. Especially on the basis of keeping connected, so that if they would have to be given a task to do behind the scenes, then they're fresh, available to make themselves available for the activities that would be required of them. So the song here has made it clear that they will boast and try to push back against anyone that will hold them legally accountable for the criminal activity, just because they want to preserve the image of themselves and the narcissistic behavior that's been growing in them to make them behave and carry themselves out this way. So again, as they speak against others, do not be surprised when they speak of themselves. And also, they are so close together in agreement with their actions that Donald will make certain videos, and then Floridian Rollo, as well as the son, will turn around and make similar videos. Also reinforcing that they have commonality in their criminal activity. Another thing that's given away is that they have bad lying habits. If they cannot lie to you with a straight face behind that camera, they will blink their eyes and move their head around while talking to make themselves look animated and energetic. While blinking their eyes is also a known or revealed trait as someone who has to use as much of their mind, their psyche, their brain, their energy to lie and try to draw attention to themselves by lying desperately in the hopes that someone will take them for their word or for what they say. So for example here, one of their students that has learned from them, specifically New Breed, was taught based on the reports from Donald. So as a result, because of the disagreements and situation that happened behind the scenes at Unlimited Potential Farms, UP Farms, they, New Breed, as well as these others here, Donald, Floridian Rollo, the son, and others who associate with them, they were looking to make an opportunity to make money and have people drive to them, to their location at UP Farms. They could be found on Google search, if it's still there in the system, on the Google Maps, so that they can be a type of homesteading cult, like Straightway Truth Ministry, to a degree, to where people have to sign a NDA form and bring what they have with them onto that property, and people would have a so-called location that would stay on that property that belongs to the person who bought the land, most likely New Breed, and based on the intents, if people do not agree with everything going on there, or if they were to not go along with the decisions over there or the events and mindsets and be the opposite of them, they would potentially be kicked off that land with little to nothing returned back onto them, or allowed to take much with them at all, period. If possible, leave them with nothing when they put them off the land or the property. So whatever they would bring would be absorbed, or something would happen to what they brought with themselves. And because of the way homesteading codes carry themselves, they would most likely take what they have and absorb it and leave them with the clothes on their back and whatsoever they have for themselves to go back to the cities or towns to get help and to get back on their feet and potentially reach out to family members, friends, or whoever they can get help from to get back on their feet, get housing, food, their amenities met, and back to work, returning back to life as they had beforehand. So while they were using New Breed, they were also communicating and exposing themselves. Donald, as well as Floridian Rollo, have left New York City. Floridian Rollo claims he has a resident citizenship or ID in Florida. That has not been proven to verify if it's even true at all. And because of how he's communicated, it's most likely that Floridian Rollo has been lying about his citizenship or his residence in Florida. Then Donald, he had a reason to be in New York City for about 2 years ago and then left. His claim is that he saved up money and was using New Breed to move to the countryside, and that's to get him in a 2-story house in the countryside area in the south. Yet, that too is suspect because of the money he makes now. He claimed to be making videos on YouTube part-time, and even years ago talked about on YouTube in some of his cases to meet with rich people or wealthy people or people who know how to make money, to do business with them and to take life to the next level instead of just living a casual everyday life. So wherever he got the money from, he was able to have money or funding or support to get into a house over there in the south and to move what he had into that house and then go supposedly full-time on YouTube streaming. The other two as well, the Son as well as Floridian Rollo, they will claim that they need money to a degree if people want to hear this or hear that or to continue further. So they intentionally put pressure on people to give their money to listen to them speak. And that's words that they speak that have little to no value at all, period. And they are vain, empty, flattery. Deceptive and enticing. So as much as they present themselves one way or the other, they have made it very clear that they are not genuine nor sincere, and everything that they have been generally saying is mostly going to be a front. It's a pattern of their behavior, so whatever can be expected of them is most likely going to be deceptive, most likely going to be a front.
the transfer process. And the transfer process, y'all see it folding? Let me come on the big screen real quick. Let me come on the big screen. I got to do this, man. I got this brand new Galaxy Fold phone. Y'all see it? Fold phone. Y'all see it folding? Brand new Fold phone, right? Brand new Fold phone, okay? Brand new. Still got the box right here. Y'all see it? What does this box say? Galaxy Z Fold 7.
Pause. Galaxy Z Fold 7 right there. Let's go look it up. Alright, let's go pull the price here. So depending on the version here of the phone, you're looking at a phone that's about $2,000. That's right. Paying for a phone that's up to a few $100s, it's one thing, but a $2,000 phone, now let's go to the next thing here. So let's get this straight. The son here, he has a woman and a child with him. He has to pay for the expenses of the house. He has a pool, and he has $2,000 to spend on a brand new phone, as well as another lump sum amount of money to get an additional phone. Furthermore, as many other criminals are, and people who have an ego, especially those that have narcissism in them, they have to get the next best thing, the most shiny, most exotic stuff they can use to array themselves, deck themselves, as well as to get attention for themselves. So right here in this video, what he likes to do is take cars he has and go buy it and finance another one, or go switch one vehicle to go get another, while collecting phones on top of it too. Phones that are hundreds of dollars and even $2,000 at best. And all these people are being presented the cult of personality. So people think he is doing a good thing, but it's only to be seen by men. And those of you who read the New Testament know what Jesus warned about those who do that. Also, they share antisocial behavior. Those three in particular, the son here, Floridian Rollo, as well as Donald, they try to present themselves as if people are out there to trouble them and spot them.
Y'all see the little dog right there? Always be barking when I pop out. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? I'm not even outside the garage yet.
Some people will use animals to go sniff people and find out what kind of person are they. Usually when you're doing the right things, especially those of you who know right from wrong, including those who keep the faith, those who are actually born again, of the Ruach HaKodesh, the authentic Holy Spirit, and you're keeping the faith, the animals can actually perceive what's coming from you. Animals to a degree can detect things that are normal senses that have become dull and untrained in different areas. They can detect. So animals can detect, compared to an everyday person, someone they can greet and be around, and they can detect someone who's a potential threat, a criminal, someone who has bad intentions. How some like to say in layman's terms, evil coming from that person or that individual. So some people have the sayings or the cliches that if their dog doesn't like you, then they should avoid you. In other words, if their animal detects something bad about you, that person will take that cue as something that they should consider. So if their animal is suspicious, then they would take that as a cue, as a warning, to keep an eye and keep distance of that particular individual.
See that? Oh, now all of a sudden, see that? All of a sudden the door is closed. You see that? I want y'all to see that. The whole time I've been streaming. Wait, now, oh. Man, I can't, man. I can't.
This is how bad they influence the minds of people that listen to them. They get up here and they manipulate and deceive them. And the stuff that you see in the movies, the very evil stuff they do in the movies, they do it in real life here. That includes occult practices, different forms of Satanism, to make people listen to them, manipulate their minds, present a certain narrative, and then turn around and make people, shall we say, turn them into an idol. So you have all these frauds, these scam artists, those three in particular, and the two others mentioned. There's others on the site too, such as Charles L. Jr. and other cult leaders and such, that they get on the internet and they intentionally manipulate, deceive, and lie to people to get their money, to get their minds, as well as to get a strong influence over their livelihoods, over their lives, over their perception of reality too. These people, or shall we say these individuals, they have the wrong intentions. And if you're not one of them, nor do you assimilate, one or two things are going to happen. Either they will kick you out and ostracize you, like cults will do, or, worst case scenario, they will make threats upon people's lives, threats against their livelihoods, and try to do harm, damage, loss, and so forth to the people who do not assimilate. And if possible, try to blackmail you, even blackmail you, and what else? Talk about you in the open. Try to shame you in the open to make you run back to them and apologize to them. To control and try to pull people back into their snare, into their deception, into their control. Now, if you're wondering when it concerning finances here, they are getting paid underneath the table. Even if they live in the South where housing is cheaper and things may be less expensive over there, still their wages have to be examined, as well as the rest of their shall we say, paper trail, the rest of their money. Because if they're going to be in a criminal organization or a group, that means they have to get paid underneath the table. Even dark money that's discreet, and if possible, receive gifts for doing what's been assigned to them. One of those things that they are assigned to do is to destabilize society, lead as many people into civil unrest and deception and so forth, to cause great trouble to humanity by one way or another influencing their minds and causing them to be stirred up for the wrong intentions. Making a call of action with the wrong intentions, especially to get them to go do criminal activities on their behalf. For example, because of their falling outs, their disagreement with their trainee, New Breed, they have spent countless hours of trying to bury him, discredit him, and get him out of the way because he knows some of their things, some things about them. And he's trying to make money off the internet as well too, just like them. If they can get thousands upon 10,000s of views, even over 100,000 views, they will attempt to do so while being monetized, being paid behind the scenes and other sources to fund them just right, so they can amass all this money and go spend it on vices, on useless things, and make people think that's what their ministry is about, or what their message is, and trying to minister unto the people, claiming to be ministers. Now, they have to be living a double life as it is, to have all this time and energy to get out here on the internet and make all sorts of videos, from video games to harassing New Breed, to harassing women, to making false news reports, false narratives, misinformation, disinformation, and so forth, to make people think that life is the way they present it to them, that it's not true, not legitimate. They want people to give them money, get involved in their criminal groups behind the scenes, and every time someone tries to share something that's going to be informative and helpful, they will turn around and try to discredit that, especially on the one person they have sought to target, as well as to make multiple threats against her life. They have watched her videos, listened to her live streams and whatnot, to go copy her, and then also make videos to contradict her, as it means to insult her, and try to lure people to listen to them, to cause loss as well as harm to her. And some of these people who are aiding and abetting and going along with them is some of these individuals that are part of the one of these new age movements called the Chosen One group. So there's people who are insincere, and there's people who don't know what they're doing, and then you have in the mix in there too criminals that will gain stalk people, criminals that will dox people. They will say words and not mean them either. For example, those who read the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation and they study it thoroughly where it applies, and then to learn from themselves, they will learn to no longer do birthdays. It is against the culture, and people should not be doing that because it opens them up to the wrong situations in life, and the Father who's in heaven hates that because it's a form of idolatry, a form of self-worship. And the thing too is that they go around and they push these different terminologies, these catchy phrases and such, and behind the whole scenes, they're going around helping them to do criminal activities with them so they can get funded as well with them. So they are trying to make their money off criminal activities with them. That means they had to go help them, harass people, make threats, make so-called legal threats against them, making threats to sue people, and intimidate people on the internet, as well as through various means.
God is
even
exposing and revealing in this season, chosen ones. I have some stuff that I want to talk to you guys about.
Or the individual
I did a video last year on exactly, it was March 7th of 20.
To go have them be incited, inspired, and moved.
Do I have some receipts
to go do stalking,
new breed, demon lies,
and harass people? And the things they present, especially based on the titles here, it's very distinguished that they are not sincere. And you can tell even from the surface level, they don't mean what they mean. They're saying a bunch of things that is appealing, and it's deceptive. Anyone who runs into their material has to eventually come to the point where they need to separate from them to be retaught in what they've been learning. That way they do not accomplice nor involved in their criminal activities.
So, I've been going so hard at exposing Stephanie New Breed Global Truth.
And here's the thing. About a year ago, Floridian Rollo, as well as Donald, otherwise known by the alias of Ringo, they had a so-called falling out, a disagreement. Floridian Rollo was having so-called secret meetings, secret gatherings, especially most particularly through the internet. And those two were separated, and for motivations, all three of them got together. The song, Floridian Rollo, as well as Donald. Then they turn around, and just like imposters are, they have to sound very good, especially if they're trying to hide behind the scriptures. So they will quote a couple of verses or parts of the scriptures here and there and talk in such a way, but the whole time they've been in disguise, in the open. And they'll do things what some will call skits, drama, where they'll claim that this other person is so bad and so terrible and give it some time and they're buddies again. Or they're going to keep doing it back and forth in the open through the internet, such as YouTube, for the general public to go along with the narratives. And then they'll influence people to try to get their money, get their minds, and get them to follow them and listen to them to get programmed by them. That's right, Jim Jones style cult programming and so forth. So in this situation, for example, this suspect here, she claims that said individuals in his title here, in this as well as block text message here, are responsible for causing her loss and potential, they're putting her at risk of potential harm. So if she was serious and sincere in what she was saying, she would not be putting this stuff on the internet like this and dragging it out like this to get it dealt with accordingly. If she has all this information and receipts, tangible proof and tangible evidence to prove without a shadow of a doubt that these so-called individuals are the problem, and that she's not trying to present the wrong kind of narrative and that she means what she means. And because of how these different communities that they recruit from and try to leech from to, they look for people who may be deceived or blinded by the culture of those type of groups, and if possible, deceive people who are sincere and mean right. So they will do everything they can to put up a front to lure people in, even if it looks very good and looks promising. The most difficult thing that has to come to pass is that eventually the days come where controversies arise and people have to listen and investigate both sides. And you start to find out that these three here, the Son, Floridian Rollo, as well as Donald, and Yah deserves the glory here too, is also suspect, and they can't be trusted on the everyday basis in dealing with them, of communication, how they present themselves and for what they say. And they are definitely suspects in the many things they accuse others of. So, for the example here, they talk about people being trafficked, as well as SA done to them, violated, different type of things to do them harm and loss, and infringe on their liberties and freedoms and so forth. Well, the whole time they've been disguising themselves and been talking about themselves, especially when they're narcissists. Then they crave the validation to make themselves think that what they're doing is right, when clearly they don't understand the scriptures. Otherwise, they would not be talking and doing the way that they're doing. So, for example, again, Floridian Rollo has been called out and addressed, and because of the addressing of him, he has shown panic and trouble and make many videos of dating advice about women wanting him so bad and harassing women too, to try to get people to be silent, to try to silence anyone who would bring forth solid evidence against him to prove that he has been doing what he's doing towards people, such as violating women, and the worst case scenario, making them, causing them to disappear, potentially. The worst case scenario, and what is very telling, is potentially human trafficked, so that whenever and should it come to pass, accordingly, in a thorough investigation, including these additional phone numbers, emails, and forms of contact that they use, those three among each other, and others with them too, such as Yah deserves the glory. These individuals are living double lives. They are one way on the internet, but in real life, it is a very disturbing and unpleasant reality. And if you was to talk to them in person, you find out that talking to people on an everyday basis and how you would talk to anyone in general, these individuals here, they talk the way they talk, especially on the internet, because their minds are either deceived or they intentionally are being deceptive. That's how deep they are in the deception, that they are willing to hear, see, and believe lies and deceptive things without proving and trying and testing it, and to go with the narrative, whatever inspires them, to go do some criminal activities, and then to dress it up to ease their conscience. So if they caused someone to be human trafficked or to lose their life, and even to intimidate them, gang stalk them, dox them, and make multiple threats against their life, they would turn around and make videos technically speaking about themselves as narcissists, and then try to influence others to think that they're listening to someone who's teaching them. That's how bad the deception and the deceptive nature they are operating by. Another thing that must be brought to brief is that they go listen to other people that they can leech off of to get attention their way. So for example, they will go watch other people on the YouTube. Then they will try to befriend them or turn around and bring up their name in their videos with the intent to gain popularity, clout, and attention. Such as Pastor Rufus, for example, to get clicks, likes, followers, and influence the minds of people to make them think that they're doing a good thing when the whole time they have been very deceptive and hiding it behind a smirk, hiding it behind their front, their persona. And it's been clearly revealed that Floridian Rollo is a fraud, especially a fraudulent businessman. Whatever he claims to be business and entrepreneurship, and putting up all these videos and all this talk, he's actually talking about himself, and he's trying to project what he does onto other people and put them in a certain state of mind to make them hate women, to look at women sideways, but before even talking to certain women, to influence them at the get-go so that they can have them listen to them as their supposed minister, as their supposed mentor, their supposed teacher. And then again, they go around with flashy attire and trying to look flashy, such as the glasses, the different type of headsets, the headphones, and so forth. Let's talk about this right here briefly. This was not mentioned.
Yo, tune in.
And here's the thing that has to be mentioned again. There are special units of law enforcement that are trained in the investigation of occult practices, especially when SRA has been committed, and they have to investigate the scene to figure out all the elements in their specialty to solve the case with the potential possibility of arresting the suspect and so forth. Now there are different experienced people, such as those who know that can study body language, as well as those who know what type of character, nature, or spirit someone is of, especially on the way they communicate, talk, what's coming from them, their thoughts, their intent, especially their gestures, their facial expressions, and whatsoever is given to them to give a report or evidence, otherwise to gather what's needed to be informed. So this is partially through the video. Watch their face.
A woman that you cool with, you got to make sure she cool with you. She might crash out on you and call you all types of stuff.
That is not normal. One eye's shut, the other one's slanted.
She don't even care about the children.
And they're blaming women for everything, trying to program people. The so-called red pill community is loaded. It's got people in there who are unhappy. They either are looking for a solution to move forward in life and grow. Otherwise, they're stuck in there, and they may still have the same problems as they did prior.
You gotta have serious money to live in Coral Spring. So she was trying to basically, she premeditated his murder. She unalived him. She had a.
Another thing too is that cult leaders, they search the internet or gather information, either they of themselves or they have someone working for them to help them present their information, whether it's a video or research, and they carefully want certain stories so they can cherry pick those stories and present a very different worldview, a very different reality that is false, fictitious, and even lie and change elements of the story to make it seem as if they are credible news reporters, credible informants, until you hear the other side of the story and you realize they are lying to people aggressively to deceive them, to load them up with lies, to influence their minds and try to lead them astray, and even potentially use them too for collateral, such as using them to do crime for them and so forth, in the name of their ideology that they believe in, instead of what they're supposed to be doing according to their speech, according to their claims, in better words. So they were ministering the word, the scriptures. They will not be talking like this about women, nor being deceptive.
Epiphany. She never trusted him. She never believed in him. She had children with him. You got ladies that can have kids with you and still don't believe in you.
And they spend all those hours studying how to program people, and worst case scenario, have them so entrenched in the lie that they believe it. And again, there's all this pretending as if they're a businessman when they sit there and they scam people and they lie to them and deceive them. For example, telling them that they're going to get a lot of money by becoming a YouTuber to get monetized, and to write share to become a Uber driver or something like that along that lines. And they're using all sorts of things for clicks, likes, and views, especially using controversial things to gain attention for themselves. So the whole time, they're trying to program people, for example, trying to tell them that they're a businessman, that they're making all this success and everything, when the whole time they fled New York because of reasons. If they can present a certain narrative, they will do so to lie to people, to hide what they really have been doing. If someone has to flee New York, and they have all these so-called allegations coming out about them, what further need of proof do you need to say otherwise? Because if someone's lying to you and trying to spend days upon days, months upon months to try to program you to believe a certain narrative and look the other way, they will attempt to do so as long as they're not being exposed and addressed dressed accordingly to call out what they've been doing. Another thing too is that because of their experience in deceiving people, such as this is how noticeable their communication skills are. They intentionally make low quality grammar. Making people think they're projecting what they're doing onto them, the so-called individual who's communicating, when the whole time, because of their narcissistic nature, they have been projecting into others. And because what they're saying against other people is not sticking, it's wearing them out, because they get drained from trying to get the anguish and all the suffering that they've accumulated for all their criminal activities they have been doing. Also, another one here too, claiming to say that New Breed is like Charles L. Jr. Here's the thing: if you have disgruntled, upset, negative, and criminals who are male, and they're using females too to go out there and trouble people, harass them, try to discredit them, and so forth, then they are the ones that need to be inspected and investigated. When they are over here harassing people, lying about them, causing people to lose their marriages, make bad financial decisions, as well as to fund, that's right, to deceive people to fund their lifestyles. So as much as that they are trying to bury their students that learn from them, they themselves are exposing themselves to, because of their narcissistic nature. They have to talk about themselves to a degree. So in this video, for example, there's plenty of chances to see that they have a little too much related to Charles L. Jr., who is a cult leader that is being exposed, and his ways are looking too much like their ways. Here's an example of them using their old photos to persuade people of different things. Another thing too is that all three of them, to some capacity, want people to make it look like they have all these connections to important people, to people up the chain of command. Whether it be a secret society, rich people, dangerous people, people of status, fame, and whatnot, to put out this presence that they are some type of untouchable, as someone who needs to be received and taken at face value, and putting up this whole entire persona, this false identity, this false version, to make people really think, based on their double life, that they are that type of person and that type of individual in person, when the whole time they've been hiding what they do and trying to make it discreet in their actions. For example, Floridian Rollo has been trying to make money by swindling, grifting, and many type of deceptive and false things he have said and done and presented to get people to send money to him and anyone else who's been giving him money from the back end, behind the scenes, and so forth, with the intent to deceive as many people as possible and to gain his position among those that he's really associated with. So in the process, for the example, he didn't have that much money when he needed a vehicle, and he wanted to complain about living the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. With the hopes of trying to pull in as much money as possible off the backs of people that have been lied to and tricked by them. And since they claim to read the book, they have too much wisdom of this world that form of speech, the repetition, as well as the proper application of the scriptures, especially in how they treat other people, they will hide behind their worldly wisdom and try to justify their ways. That way, they can make people think from their deceptive practices they are sincere, and yet, again, still, they have spent plenty of time of how to disguise themselves out in the open, to give themselves an identity. So if they were to do what they're going to do to plot and scheme against people and fulfilling their premeditated criminal activity, then they can go relocate, live somewhere else, and do something else, and then hide it behind a sob story or some kind of wild story or narrative to make it seem like they're in the need to be understood, to make people have pity for them. So again, well, while they talk about others, such as their suppose someone who's very similar to them, to the potential that they might be cousins, that they can be cousins, because of the type of groups they come from behind the scenes and could be dealing with. Some of these individuals, such as the Son, Floridian Rollo, Donald, and so forth, based on the way they behave themselves, they could be part of some secret society. Those secret societies that send their little peons, their little minions out there to go start a bunch of crime and try to satisfy their agenda in hopes of causing crimes against humanity. So again, as much as they are exposing Charles L. Jr., as well as exposing Mark the Messenger, they are talking about themselves in the whole process too. When they say something out of their own mouth, saying, look at them, X, Y, and Z, and so forth, take the same thing they said and try to meet it back onto them. Try to see if they meet the standard or if they're talking about themselves and trying to hide what they're really about. And they're desperate for money too. They'll convince people to hit the like button, to send them money through Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. If possible, send them gifts so they can free a little off of them. 2 things that give away the potential of them coming from secret societies is a hand gesture that Donald does, as well as the pointing at his head of the Son does in his main picture, in his profile picture out there of the Son. And another thing too is, what are they teaching and communicating on? For example, when they're trying to blame the so-called church, that it's not really the official, assembly, but it's only used to be purposed for certain reasons, and plenty of those temples are purposed but for the will of men instead of the Father in heaven. That's why there's so much controversy that happens at different ones, because some are raised up by men, others were intentionally on that type of level raised up by COINTELPRO, CIA, and other agents of different sorts to deceive, program, manipulate, and use people. And that includes hatred of the melanated people too. Hatred to stir up controversy, to get attention, and to make themselves feel validated in what they do. And if possible, cause situations and try to make money off of it. And again, Donald here, making all sorts of videos, trying to not only get rid of New Breed, whom he taught, but also anyone else that they can harass, target, and trouble to try to absorb more followers to themselves and make money off of them. So for example, this video right here, this is also important. Spiritual predators, how demons use narcissists to manipulate people. Ringo is talking about himself. Or otherwise, Donald is talking about himself. Another thing too is that if he was what he says who he is, he would not be, that's right, he would not be afraid of a bear or a mountain lion or something like that showing up at the middle of night trying to so-called get him.
I'm not answering your question now. It amazes me that people can't. Some might be light, but we don't.
And here's the thing. When you take the onus and you put it back to them to see if it matches them, you're going to find out that the whole time with their deceptive practices, they've been hiding a lot of criminal activity. And been doing it for years too. And not forgetting their double lives that they live. The son's so-called child does not look like him. The son is lighter skinned, and the child and the woman he's with are dark skinned. Otherwise so-called melanated, very melanated, very deep dark hue. She's darker in hue, and the child there, that does not look like him. Instead, it looks like the mother. And then Donald here presents his so-called wife or woman, along with these younger girls or teenagers and so forth. In the whole process, he's been hiding who he really is. If these individuals can get, shall we say, prosthetic family members to where they're just actors in uniform like they are, then they can get it close as possible to deceive the general public and make it seem like they're moral that they're legit, and the whole time they've been hiding who they really are behind the fronts. Also, when they claim to do all these good works, it's only for their benefit again. Because if they were serious about doing the right kind of works for the right intent and right motive, they definitely will not be limiting what they can do, including exposing of certain individuals, but leaving the others unchecked. For example, he is trying to help protect the reputation, the character, and the fame, as well as the stance of Floridian Rollo. Now this going down here is to go look for specific material. And of course, some more bashing and harassment of Dodash. Now the videos was the more proper location to go to. Again, more signs of anti-personality behavior, antisocial behavior. If someone is really a minister, they would be out there one way or another interacting with people, and people would know that they would be a child of the Father who's in heaven by the positive experience, the positive character, the positive traits about them, revealing the quality of character they are of, whether it's good, lacking, or evil. There's a distinction to where someone is legitimately serious, and yet those who are going to be lacking or contrary. And so the difference has to be made in the decisions of one's own free will to choose to do good or to do evil, according to the scriptures. Going as far back here from a year ago, this is one of the communities that he recruits from and tries to get followers so that whatever advantages and disadvantages that each person would have from different communities, he can exploit them and use them for his pawns and for gain and advantage. Especially some of the videos he puts out, he has other people go do the research for him to get the information and pass it to him. And then he gets up there and takes pretty much most of the credit. And if you can, pretty much try to take it all. And try to hide behind a front. Behind a religious front. When the whole time, he was not serious about the Father in heaven. He was trying to benefit himself.
It's your boy. Yo, it's your boy Ringo.
So back in April 2024, he was so-called so skilled in what he does and his ability to perceive people for who they are. And now it's a year later, roughly speaking, over a year and some months, drawing closer to 2 months or 2 years to be correct. Yet all of a sudden he changed and now he has a positive perspective or narrative, a positive presentation of Floridian Rollo. You know who else does that too? Charles L. Jr. Him and Gino Jennings. Gino Jennings was so terrible Charles L. Jr. talked about Geno Jennings for close to a year or so, many months. Then suddenly that changed, and everything was peaceful between the two. So there's a potential that they're making skits, drama, situations, just to trick people, to get them for the money, to drain them, and take what they have from them as much as possible. Now Mark the Messenger here has a brief mention of them. They have been addressed, and they have been quiet and being addressed. Those who have a narcissistic personality about them, a certain narcissistic nature, they refuse to be corrected. They have to be justified in their own eyes, in their own sight. So when they're being addressed and they have no response, or on the other hand, all they have is a bunch of mockery, a bunch of empty words, sounding one way, but it's really just empty words. And in some cases, they may even try to make empty threats and empty promises and so forth. So these individuals are going to play both sides of the fence. As in, you have some over there saying, oh, everything's peaceable and at ease. And you have those of them who are on the other side to try to catch people up in their deception. And to make it more plain here too, look at this. So it says right here on the one YouTube channel, but on the other one here, they are putting up a front. They're deceptive and hiding who they really are. When they put up a quote-unquote religious front, and they do a bunch of bad things that gets out to the general public one way or another, or to law enforcement of different departments, it can strike a lot of people, because the whole time the person's been smiling, talking so good and so nice and so smooth. Then you find out the whole time that smiling and all that speech has been deceptive and used to lure people astray. And it's possible to deceive them, pull them in, and use them in their gain, taking advantage of them, exploiting them, and using them. So this narcissist right here, when they talk about things such as spiritual vampires, doom and gloom, overhyping the severity of a situation, how to spot demons in friends and family, and then turn around and deceiving people the more so. He's sitting there trying to lure in victims with all his rhetoric, all his speech. And because he's a narcissist, he's going to be talking about himself. So he's a spiritual vampire. He wants people afraid. He wants people to be proud of themselves, to be over self-important, using the chosen one doctrine, teachings, to make people feel special and self-important to a degree, hiding that they've been plotting against people the whole time. Mark the Messenger, hiding what he does to provoke. His role is to harass and trouble people. So he's discreet in what he does for his criminal activity. But as soon as learning how a narcissist functions, what they say and do and so forth, makes it more clear now why they speak in code, especially when they're a narcissist, and the whole time, one way or another, they have been looking for an occasion to speak again about themselves.
Yo, what's up, family? Peace and blessings, man. This video I'm going to be breaking down
As a side note, you ever realize when you taste someone's food, they're baking, they're cooking, or whatever they do, you can tell the difference between it being done the right way, with a good reason, a good intent, and so forth, versus something that was just done, here you go. You ever notice the difference? For example, something that's said or done in love versus something that's just done just to get it done. You notice the difference in those? Yeah, when you listen to how Mark the Messenger would talk, you would realize he doesn't have any love. Neither do these other four individuals, as well as Charles L. Jr. That's what they have to use: flattery, smooth speech, swelling words of vanity, and so forth, because their words are limited in what they can do and accomplish. That's why they're busy either womanizing or trying to get attention, while in the process of trying to break someone else down. And the thing too is that when you listen to them talk and carry themselves, these five individuals in particular, along with their groups, there's a good chance that they might, that they might not be sincere, that they may not have any love in them, that they may be trouble. When you have individuals who say they got love, but they're full of hatred, and they got nothing legitimate to say nor do, and you can tell what they're saying and doing just doesn't really grasp your attention, then you can see the distinction to a degree of how much someone who's got value and are being used by the Father who's in heaven, versus someone who's just moving their mouths, but moving the edge of their lips, but what they're saying, it doesn't have that much gravity nor purpose. Same here. This criminal has been with Blaze Judah, learning how to cherry pick parts of the scripture and repackage Christianity, while hiding it behind classes where people can send money to his Risen Christ ministry. That's either directly from the UK or secondhand from somewhere from Africa. One way or another, plenty of these individuals are not showing their proof of identification, as well as proof, most importantly, of how they function. They have to present themselves in such a way that way they can deceive regular people as much as possible. Especially when you have other areas here too to consider. When you have someone who's full of hate, but they say they got love, and you can't That's right. You cannot detect nor perceive that love, but it's all like a facade, like a front. You realize that something's not sticking. And if you're around that stuff long enough, you might pick up on the facade and find out what is really going on, so you can get free of that mess. To show how sensitive the material facts are, that they show the behavior as working together behind the scenes, they pass false information, misinformation, gossip, things that are libel, defamation of character, and so forth. They will commit libel, or defamation of character, of the two, and present themselves as justified in what they do.
Doing that. Hey, again, I have repented for brutish behavior. I have repented for that.
Somebody said if he's coming to be reformed, edified, seek change, you're not to rebuke him, to attempt to block him from the gate. That's correct. Let me see something here. What proof do you have? Okay, no, okay, I'm not doing that comment. Let me see something here. The saints have nothing to do with religious cult leaders. Okay, y'all, okay, and you know this comment section, right? On this channel, there's no reviling, there's no railing. Y'all know, we don't do that here. Please, because it's a forever block. Just flag the person to me, and I'll speak to them. We don't do that, okay? Because it's not godly, edifying, and faith. It doesn't benefit nobody. Everybody got venom. And the Lord was telling him, it says, their feet is swift to shed blood, and the tongue of venom is the ass is under their lips. That is not how we're communicating, okay? Let me see here. These brothers were in Georgia, don't support them.
I can say this, from the day this is all went down, I haven't avoided one.
Something's wrong here. Dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. Charles, thank you very much.
So that right there I found, just going through the internet, and it's right there in front of your face. The information has been presented that Lester here, who goes by the alias Brother Karatazar, he decided he wanted to stand up and protect a suspect that has plenty of criminal behavior that's been done on the internet, in the public space, as well as trying to hide his criminal double life. So as a result, he's had all this gossip put into his ears to get even more individuals that are also suspects and involved in other criminal activities, to give their allegations, their false witnesses, their lies, as well as defamation of character. And people just were feeding them all this information, and he's going along with it too, trying to get people to follow him, to give money to him, and to start his own little cult as well too. So that if anyone was to challenge what he says, either him or one of his moderators had to simply block people and keep them from interacting with the chat. All this has happened within a short amount of time. And the embarrassing thing too about it, for their end, is that others who are like unto them, they are very sloppy now. And what's been coming out about them, it's pointing back onto them instead. For example, the Straightway Truth Ministry cult, ran by Charles L. Jr., he has other criminals that run with him too, such as Randy, the guy in the black vest there, holding a firearm. Jermaine West, Jermaine W., who is part of the Strawberry Truth Ministry cult. And Jermaine has been mentioned by Michael F. to make the threats against other people that he can intimidate, at least so far. One by the name of Brother Barack. So what's happened here is that Michael F. here has been listening to Victoria H. So Victoria has gone through an alias here who's been inciting him with allegations, and they are so-called hiding in the countryside, doing their criminal activity on behalf of Straightway Truth Ministry cults by giving information to Lester and then supporting others too, to a degree, by giving that gossip as well as defamation of character claims and statements to others such as Desan, Floridian Rollo, and so forth, so they can turn around and try to monetize that too. That way all of them can try to make false claims, make threats to either the lives of people, all of these criminals involved, such as Charles L. Jr., Jermaine W., Michael F., Victoria, that's not her last name, that's an alias, and so forth that have been mentioned, such as Lester involved in there too, has been spreading not only false claims, gossip and slander, defamation of character and so forth, but they have gone so far as to make the other malicious intent of lying to law enforcement and potentially making threats to get the FBI involved, to go lie to the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the hopes of using lies to put people in jail or in prison, because all of these criminals, Straightway Truth Ministry, Charles L. Jr. over it, as well as Michael F., Jermaine W., Victoria H., Lester Brainwaves, otherwise known as his alias for the song, Deason, Donald's, Floridian Rollo, and so forth, can amass money by lying on people and also pay people. That's right, Mike has made the claim that he would pay up to $2,000, $20,000 to have someone such as Jermaine W. to do a hit on Brother Barack. That's what came out of the mouth of Michael F. here. And of course he had to delete his video. Let's get the evidence. Here it is right here. Giving appreciation, thanks, and glory to the Father, for He alone is worthy. This right here. Michael F. deleted this video right here that shows a boxer and it has inflammatory language in there. he intentionally made death threats towards Brother Barack. And the way he's timed his death threats towards Brother Barack is when Straightway to the Ministry cult was holding a festival, a convention, with the intent to make money off of people, to amass as much money off the convention from the people instead of it being a service unto the people who would go there. So the whole thing was a money grab, a scam, an activity of fraud. And based on the behavior of Michael F. here, as well as his history that's been revealed, where he makes about $4,000 or more or less or so driving a truck. His intent is to make money, live off his land, have animals on the countryside, and avoid paying that many fees or taxes. And yet, that's not enough money because he wanted to get with Victoria H. So he had interest in her. So he was willing to do just about anything, including spreading lies, making threats, and saying inflammatory things, such as taking a family member or someone he knows to turn around and try to have them box Brother Barack, and even try to offer $20,000 to put a hit on Brother Barack. And then he turned around and made this video right here to tell him to stay in his house, to threaten him that if he was to leave his house, that he would have Crips and other criminals come after him or try to get him. And then afterwards, he deleted those two videos. In the process, I'm making this video right here. October the 16th. In the process of beginning the video, he was deleting, or otherwise he was putting, that's right, he was putting in private this video right here. He either moved it to private completely or he deleted it entirely. One way or another, it's possible, just maybe possible, to retrieve that piece of evidence, to verify it again with undeniable proof by having that physical evidence on hand, even though it's digital. So while this is being used to show other criminals that are not exactly Donald, Floridian Rollo, as well as Deason, Lester, Mark the Messenger, it brings others to the forefront. They have to be investigated as well too, including Charles Dow Jr., because of the behavior of these criminals. They are too much alike and too involved in each other's affairs and each other's dealings, directly or indirectly, especially behind the scenes. They have double lives that they're living, so when they get up there on camera or in front of the microphone, one way or another, they have to present themselves in such a way, and they refuse to be held accountable too. That's right, they refuse to be held accountable from anyone who sees them in the wrong. And the only way they will respond is to try to flip the script and try to call the person addressing them wrong by whatever excuse in the set the way they can try to push and present. So this whole entire, practically speaking, 9-part series is to bring it in a summary here with this video to make it very clear, understandable of what to expect and listen to the material here and together, and to make distinction as well as with good intent, the right intent, to show the gravity of day and night difference between those who are actually serious about doing the right thing and then these frauds who are criminals living double lives, where they look nice and shiny in front of the camera, but behind the scenes they are doing so many things that's criminal, that the best way to solve it is to get every department involved to investigate them and lock them up, maybe underneath the jail, throw away the key, and depending on what state they live in, probably have the maximum penalty assigned to them. That way, they can no longer trouble mankind any further, as well as to make death threats or threats against the lives again towards people, and especially threats against the victims and potential victims that they have targeted, especially women that they have targeted, and even to search out, investigate, dig, and discover everyone else too who's been involved with them and their criminal doings, their criminal actions. That way, anyone else who still wants to be an accomplice, to aid, abet, and help them and work with them in their operations of criminal behavior, then they too can be exposed, linked back to their contacts, and then also arrested until all of them are busted and either incarcerated, put in prison or jail for a very long time, even for the rest of their lives, and the rest of the criminal behavior is put to an end, stopped. That way, people can move forward in what they're supposed to be doing with their lives and such.